What's up, everyone? So we have this again, the HR216, HRC216. And the problem is this: we got it running, the clutch works good, new oil, filter's fine, cables are all good, blade was a little nasty, I balanced it, no problems now. Problem is, you let it sit for maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and you start to see a puddle of fuel. I've taken this apart multiple times, replaced the needle, cleaned the seat thoroughly, resurfaced the seat with a Q-tip and some grit. Excuse me. Nothing's happening. When you blow in it, it appears like it's not the needle on seat. Until I started to look further into it. And this seat, I believe, is cracked. This isn't the Carb, but it's one that's very, very similar. Except it doesn't have this plastic piece, it has a brass piece, I believe. So in there is a seat, but it's not part of the body. It's a separate piece by itself. And I was looking at it, and there's a small hairline crack on the side. So what I think is happening, the reason why it's a small leak, is that hairline crack is causing a problem. It's causing a leak, which is a problem. So my solution was this. I went on the internet, the HR216 official carb from Honda. I don't remember if it was $89 or $88, or there was another one I think I found for $112. It was a lot. This is an aftermarket carb. Main differences is that it has a retractable or automatically retracting choke, because when you turn the choke on and off, you want it to go back without the cable. So that's the main difference here. This carb probably would have worked. I mean, that's kind of the purpose of this video, to see what the difference is, if any. So far I'm seeing that the fuel goes off to the side. That would make sense because it's on a different style. Fuel goes up. This is off a GX, I believe. Yeah, GX 160. Other than that, like I said, the choke lever is different. That one stays. There's supposed to be a handle. This one even has a handle post. Looks like there's a little bit of difference in the jetting or ports. This one actually has pressed in brass ports. So is this one right here, but that's about it. Other than that, oh, that's nice. Designed in Japan. At least they put the word Japan in there. It's adjustable. It's not one of those annoying ones where you have like one of those little caps. You just need a flathead screwdriver. This is $18.99. Came with a section of fuel line, which is pretty much garbage, but the fuel line on the isn't all that bad. Also did come with 2 gaskets. I'm assuming, oh, 3 gaskets, never mind. Yeah, just what I thought. So let's go ahead and put it on. So you're probably sitting there wondering, assuming you haven't read the title, what is the purpose of this video? I thought everything was good to go with this machine. Unless you didn't watch the other one, in which case this is a brand new problem for you. But the purpose is a $18 carb really going to be of any benefit and will run as good? If you haven't seen it run before, then please check out the other video. Runs pretty decent. Idle's good, no problems. The only complaint I have is changing the carb. I have to remove the tank every single time because this piece is broken. So, there's that. Right here is broken. As you can tell, it's a little gooey in there, and the carb is just leaking all around. I'm going to check the oil real quick. The reason why I'm going to check the oil is this. When something overflows like this, it can have... Ideally, it goes outside the carb. Well, that FedEx truck really needs to change its brakes. Ideally, it goes out of the carb, out the intake, out the air filter or something, or even like we have, just plain old leaking. The non-ideal is that the intake valve is open and it goes inside the combustion chamber. And at that point, it will seep eventually past the... It's already leaking again. That is tight, by the way. All of it's tight. I double checked the tights. So. Oh. I think we got lucky. I think the valve was closed. Anyway, so when that would happen, I think I'll probably have to change the oil anyway. I'll probably do that later. It thins out the oil. And it smells like gasoline. So if you check your oil and it smells like gasoline, you have a carb problem. You shouldn't run a machine, at least not very long, ideally not at all, with gasoline in the oil. If you do it accidentally one time, you're probably going to survive. Probably. But you don't want to do it long term, that is for sure. And as long as you don't run it all day long, probably did minimal damage to your motor. You did some, don't get me wrong. I don't know if you can hear, but that noise was me clamping off the fuel line. Because these have the fuel shut off on the carb, when you remove the carb, the only thing that's stopping the fuel from coming out is maybe the angle I have the tank right now. And that's about it. Unless it's an empty tank, then you don't have to worry about it. This is not empty. It has maybe a quarter of a tank. I want to keep it at a quarter of a tank because the last time I thought this was done, I came out, my garage smelled like a gas station, and almost all of it leaked out. Granted, I didn't put a lot in there. I'm not a gas station, so when people get new machines repaired by me, they get roughly a few ounces. Is this broken? No, I think it's just seeping outside, so it should be fine. Luckily for us, replacing this carb is not difficult. Now do we have the bad one? Let's take the good one and put the choke linkage on. There we go. Now the choke linkage is secure. I know what you're thinking. Do you live next to like a diesel repair shop? No, I don't. I just live next to a whole lot of people that apparently only drive diesels. Which, yeah, go right ahead. That's not a problem. But they're loud. Granted, some of the cars around here also their gasoline are not the quietest. Either you have people who think it's snowing in April with their snow tires, or they think a 1.7 liter Honda is the next F1 racer. And you know, you can make some power, don't get me wrong. But do you have to weld a Folgers can to your muffler? Or to your exhaust? Can't you just get a better exhaust? Do you have to have the tiniest sounding one on the market? Do you? Hopefully you see something in there. Now I'm just complaining. Probably should stop. Put a thumbs up if you feel my pain. Not necessarily with the diesels. The diesels I could deal with, but with like the nasty little mufflers. I use that term muffler very loosely, by the way. So the fuel is off. Turn it on. That already sounds kind of questionable, but like I said, $18. Sometimes I think these sit on the shelf for a little bit of time. You kind of need to shake them a bit to kind of get the float from sticking. So far though, it appears to be okay. And it's not like the other one where it was cracked, where it's a small leak. If this is going to leak, it's going to leak pretty fast. Oh, yes, of course, the clamp is on. That helps too. We're going to put this on. We'll bolt it up. We'll check the lowest point on the carb. That's where it would show if it was leaking, and take it from there. There we go. It's dry. Excuse me. So far, so good. This is my concern. While I put the tank on, I'll go over it with you. Aftermarket carbs for these small engines generally are okay. If it's super small, like some 25cc, around 25cc 2 cycles, that can be a problem. If it's super big, like well, I shouldn't say super big. If it's larger, I want to say 8 horsepower and above, they're kind of not so good. The jetting is almost always off. I think they only really jet to 5 to 6 horsepower, which luckily this is. So that's why if it's something like this, they're super simple, and it's in that 5 to 6 horsepower range. Just the cost benefit of it, you can't really beat it. Are the parts and the gaskets and everything really that great? No, they're not. I mean, they're just not. They have to cut costs somewhere. That's one of them. Still dry, still dry. So that's why Briggs, Tecumseh's, these Hondas, I don't really mind using an aftermarket carb. because it just, the cost benefit. Not many people want to spend the $100 and something it's going to take just to get a new carb. They would rather buy this one, have a good carb for like 5 years, maybe less, depending on how you store it, and then have it rebuilt later with decent parts. Maybe not even that. Maybe just throw away the machine. You never know. You could do a lot of work with this in 5 years. Okay, we're gonna give it a pull and see what happens. Okay, here it goes. I didn't check to see if it moves freely though. That was a problem we had before. That sounds like it. I can hear it already. Okay. So, apologies, but I do have to stand in front of you. Yeah, I figured as much. But runs good. Actually seems to run a little better than the other one, to be honest. So I think this is a good option. I paid for this obviously, but it's a HIPAA carb. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's like 18 bucks. Could be 25. I don't remember, but I'll look it up and put it on the screen now. So it's a lot better than the original one, at least price-wise. I'm sure the original one would be spectacular when it's running, but you know, you get a pretty good deal with this. Like I said, small engines like this, 5-6 horsepower, they're not complicated carbs. They're really not. And almost all of them are jetted for this style of engine, so just the chance of having a bad one is pretty low. Getting a larger one like generator or chipper or something like that, 8 and above horsepower, you run into problems. You have to rejet those, but you can get it to work. It's just not the greatest. Sometimes the carb itself is too small, too big, you never know. But these, they're great. I have no issue. I'm going to run a little outside just to make sure. Something that can happen is when it runs, after a little bit of time, when the fuel kind of has a chance to burn off what's in the bowl, I want to make sure that the fuel level goes back where it should and doesn't leak. Just want to make sure all that's good to go. And if it is, we are set. So unfortunately, I couldn't get the other one to work. It ran just fine. Just that crack in that seat, not going to be repaired. So hopefully you like it. If you like what you see, put a thumbs up. If you have any questions, definitely put a comment below. If you have anything you want to mention, leave a comment below. And if this helped you, make sure to leave a comment as well. Definitely subscribe. Follow me on Small Engine 101 on Instagram, and I'll catch you on the next video. Have a good night. I just realized I didn't actually show you the engine running at RPM with the blade on, because half the time when the engine's running, you know, it could run great with no load, but it can, you know, bog down when it actually has a load. That's why the jetting is important. So let's figure that out. It's on off. The reason why it stalled before is because I had it was cold and I turned it to like idle, and yeah, not a good idea. So let's turn it on. I'll leave it on full speed, turn the blades on, and we'll see together if it works. Yeah, same as before. It happens. Not too concerned when it bogs down with a low RPM, so that's not a problem. But anyway, it does run. Carb seems to be fine. no leaking. I think we're set. I'm going to let it sit outside for a bit just to make sure, and take it from there. So this is the real ending. So have a good night. Catch you later.